See, this phenomena called paranormal is a very interesting phenomena, partly because of the fact that it has somewhere down the line affected humanity since time immemorial. Humans have believed in this paranormal thing since antiquity, and it's only in contemporary times that we have become slightly skeptical of this. Now, the reasons for this skepticism are multifarious, which means there are multiple reasons why people have now become more cynical and skeptical of this phenomena. But before going into the reasons why people have become skeptical of this phenomena, I want to understand, I want to narrate why there is this drive that people has towards paranormal activities. One of the reasons that people are driven towards paranormal activities is something which is so instinctive, which means that we are born to feel a sense of purpose in this universe. We are born in an enchanted universe. We have the sense of enchantment. We have a drive for enchantment. And when I say enchantment, it means nothing but a sense of magic in the universe. So it is almost very difficult to negate this instinctive feeling of enchantment, and partly that is the reason that people have a sense of longing for these phenomena. Now, are these phenomena veridical, which means are they accurate, are they something, do they show you the reality? That is a different question. But the question that why we are driven towards these phenomena is because we are somewhere down the line, we are programmed by our evolutionary psychology and evolutionary biology to believe in some kind of magic, and paranormal phenomena are part of this larger discourse of magic and enchanted universe. So this is what I believe is a primary reason why people are driven, and it's almost universal. But now the concurrent question which becomes very important again is that why there is skepticism now? What is the reason for this cynicism and skepticism? I believe that cynicism and skepticism which we see right now towards so-called paranormal activities emanates from what is called modernity's perspective, or modern frame of looking at things from a scientific perspective. And when we say scientific perspective, what do we mean by scientific perspective? It means that we will try to understand the phenomena through something called empirical evidence. That do we have the empirical evidence behind the phenomena? Can we really verify the phenomena? Can we really falsify the phenomena? So verification, falsification and empirical evidence are three parameters around which this phenomena can be understood and can be negated. And this is what many psychologists, not parapsychologists but psychologists, conventional psychologists have deployed to negate these perceptions of paranormal as nothing more than illusions, or to put it more scientifically, hallucinations or figment of your imagination. Now I am someone who is skeptical, but skeptical in the real sense of the term. So if you look into the genealogy of the term skepticism, it resonates more with what is called agnosticism, which means to be agnostic or to be suspicious of something, in the sense that you have to be suspicious and agnostic of both the sides. For instance, someone who says I am an agnostic regarding the idea of God, he or she does not actually believe nor disbelieve in the idea of God. Similarly, when I say I am an agnostic towards the phenomena of paranormal, I neither completely believe in it nor I have the prowess and skill to completely disprove it. So I maintain a stand of objectivity and neutrality, which I believe should be the scientific stand, and science we know historically has been aligned with agnosticism. So that is what I say, my skepticism is in real sense scientific in nature, without it being biased or without it being lopsided or one-sided. Now the another question that becomes really important, which basically is the question of how do psychologists perceive this phenomena of paranormal. I would say that the jury is still out, which means that the discipline of psychology, despite it being rooted in physicalism or materialism, has still been to some extent open to this phenomena, especially those kinds of psychologists that are coming from what is called Jungian psychology, Jungian analytical psychology, which means following the school of Carl Jung, or even humanist psychologists like followers of Abraham Maslow, etc. They are also to some extent open. And then you have a discipline, full-fledged discipline called parapsychology, and there are certain you will not come across many schools having this discipline of parapsychology, but there are some schools, like if you see University of Virginia, there is a Center for Perceptual Studies which has been engaging in studies of extrasensory perception, telepathy, and reincarnation, near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. All these disparate different phenomena are clubbed as paranormal. So it's not that there are no schools across the globe which talks about or which studies this phenomena, but generally still there is some sort of reservation in the conventional department of psychology to wholeheartedly observe these phenomena as natural, and rather they perceive it to be supernatural, and whatever supernatural is out of the compulsions of modern disciplines and modernity, they are not supposed to be studied in conventional what is called schools. Rather they are seen as, they are perceived in a very different lens, from a very different lens. So I would say that there is no consensus even in the psychology department, but mostly the inclination is towards a materialist or a physicalist explanation of these supposedly paranormal phenomena, especially the skepticism that people have towards studies conducted on reincarnation. For instance, there is a very important psychiatrist named Ian Stevenson, who is a founding figure of the same school that I have just mentioned, the school of University of Virginia, Center for Perceptual Study. He is the founding father of the school. So he has conducted a lot of studies, empirical studies. He has documented many cases of reincarnation, and he has also provided a different method of understanding this phenomena which transcends the conventional physicalist and materialist method. And then his studies have also been carried forward by contemporary psychiatrists and psychologists like Bruce Grayson is there, Raymond Moody is there. They have also done their studies on reincarnation, which is a part of paranormal phenomena. But then there are skeptics also, who are those who completely deny the veracity and the veridicality of these phenomena. Especially I have in my mind a very important contemporary critic, rather, her name is Suzanne Blackmore, who argues that these phenomena are nothing but, again, hallucinations and dreams and fantasies, or rather figment of our mind, figment of our imagination, and they can be explained through different neurochemical wirings of our brain. So ultimately it's our brain, that is what makes us, and there is nothing beyond our brain, or there is nothing beyond body brain nexus. So I would like to argue that perhaps if you want to have a more nuanced understanding of paranormal activities, then we have to go into the deep debates of something called the philosophical psychology, which means what constitutes the ground for psychology, what constitutes the ground for mind, what is consciousness, does it emanates from our brain, does it results from the activities of the brain, or rather it can exist independently of the brain, or does it need an embodied, it has to be embodied, does it have an embodied nature, or can it be disembodied, or what is the relationship between mind and brain, what is the nature of consciousness. So these all philosophical questions are extremely important to have a very grounded and a nuanced perspective on paranormal. So I would argue that perhaps I am someone who is open to all the perspectives. I look for evidences, I look for new methodologies to understand these experiences. One of the methodology that people generally don't talk in psychology is phenomenological understanding, which is nothing but a sense of subjective primacy to subjective experience. So if you take subjective experience into consideration, then perhaps paranormal phenomena seems very real. But then phenomenology has to be grounded in a certain metaphysics. So there is again an indispensability of metaphysics, which makes the debate extremely complex. And when we go into metaphysical debate, we have all kinds of perspectives again. We have physicalists who would outrightly deny the phenomena. Then we have dualists who argue that mind and body can exist separately, who might be more perceptive and open-minded about these phenomena. Then we might have idealists who argues that everything is primarily consciousness and mind-based. They might also be open to the phenomena in a very different manner. One of the important idealists who is sort of open to this phenomena in contemporary times is Bernardo Kastrup. He's one of the important figures in this resurgence of analytical idealism in contemporary times. He's also been talking about these phenomena, especially telepathy, like how some animals have a sense of communication which transcends physicality. How can we communicate with others who are separated from us, very different in terms of temporal and spatial zones, but we can force some kind of communication with them. So this is telepathy. Many contemporary scholars are open to telepathic extrasensory perceptions, etc. Like I told you, Bernardo Kastrup is open to it. Then Rupert Sheldrake is another very important name in this group of scholarship. He is a very renowned biochemist. He started as a biochemistry scholar, then he shifted to these phenomena. He has his own theory called morphic resonance, which is nothing but this idea that nature has memory, embedded memory, and this theory can provide a metaphysical or rather a philosophical ground to especially telepathy, which is a very important form of paranormal phenomena. So I would like to argue that paranormal phenomena are of various varieties, including telepathy, including extrasensory perceptions, like premonitions or precognition, and it could also mean near-death experiences, which is again a very fascinating study of why many people who undergo cardiac arrest, some people undergo near-death experiences. There is a universality of these experiences, which means some people are universally driven to these experiences, and then there is outer body experience. Near death experience is very important because a lot of debate is right now going on what near death experiences are. Like I would like to mention a very important study conducted by a very important British physician named Sam Parnia, who has conducted 2 longitudinal studies. That's called AWARE study. It is divided into 2 parts. One is AWARE study 1 and AWARE study 2. It's a longitudinal study conducted in different hospitals in United Kingdom and United States and other parts of European continent, and they have reached a very different conclusion. Probably Sam Parnia's basic position is that the way we have been defining death, or the way we have defined death, has to be reconsidered now, because death is not just a moment, rather death is a process. And even when we say we are biologically or clinically dead, there is a possibility of what is called resuscitation, and that's why we have cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which is called CPR in medical terms. So this resuscitation techniques has provided us a very different understanding of what death is, in which the momentary understanding of death is gone and it's been replaced or transformed by a processual understanding of death. And taking that into consideration, Sam Parnia has conducted many experiments, and his data has shown that perhaps there is a possibility of our consciousness surviving the bodily death, because when near death experiences happen, they are not actually, according to Sam Parnia, near death experiences, rather they are actual death experiences. Why? Because when cardiac arrest happens, according to Sam Parnia, then there is no oxygen to the brain and the brain is almost dead. And historically it has been argued that when brain is dying, certainly people can have certain unique experiences because the brain does not want to die, and it's basically a kind of a coping mechanism used by a brain to shut itself down. But this has been challenged by Dr. Sam Parnia, who argues that activities in the brain are actually, it's not there, so you are actually dead, but you still have such vivid comprehensive experience of looking at a tunnel or looking at a bright light and then having a sense of calmness and state of peacefulness, etc. Then how do you explain such comprehensive and vivid experiences when your brain is actually dead, or when your brain is probably at the verge of dying, even if it's not dead, then these are the anomalies that physicalism or materialism perhaps cannot possibly explain. So Sam Pania is open to a possibility of consciousness surviving our bodily brain death. Now if that is true, if that has a sense of truth attached to it, then perhaps these paranormal activities becomes more rationally amenable, in the sense that perhaps these activities can be understood in a rational sense. So these are the perspectives. Now if I take a very critical stand, then I would look for someone named Susan Blackmore, who has argued that these studies again and again are not conclusive in nature. These studies again and again have neglected the importance of culture, that eventually all these phenomena, whether near death experiences or reincarnation, all the evidence that people have generated, they are rooted in a cultural logic or cultural understanding, which again shows that it's your environment, social environment, brain and culture that results in these kinds of imaginations and thoughts, and eventually it's again your dying body and dying brain producing these experiences, especially when it comes to near death experience. And reincarnation is a different thing, but then reincarnation can also be negated, have also been negated. Important component when it comes to reincarnation is a very interesting theory that is generally given by generally used by biologists, hardcore conventional biologists. One of the important name is Michael Levin, who is a developmental biologist who talks about memory, that how memories can transcend the confines of time and space. So Bernardo Kastrop, who is an idealist, who belongs to idealist group of thinking philosophy, he argues that reincarnation in fact are true, but they are not they should not be understood as reincarnation. So probably if you come across any child who has memories of someone else, and that memories somehow get verified that whatever the child is saying is true. For instance, I remember one very important case of Shanti Devi. In 1930, Shanti Devi was born in Delhi, and this young child, Shanti Devi of 7 years old, she started narrating her memories of her past life to her family, and she was started claiming that she belongs to Mathura originally, and then she died in a certain accident or something, and she narrated everything, and that actually compelled even the nationalist leaders like Mahatma Gandhi to come up with a commission. And a commission was actually started, or commission was initiated by Gandhi to research on this area, that is it veridical or not. And the commission did not reach a conclusion, final conclusion, but Ian Stevenson, again a very important researcher that I have mentioned earlier, argued that there are veridical, it is veridical. I mean, whatever Shanti Devi was narrating about her past life and all, it's true. She has narrated more than 20 facts which have been empirically proven. So now Bernardo Kastrop would argue that this is not exactly reincarnation. Why? Because when you die, your memories somehow transcend time and space, because memories are something which is, according to Michael Levin, a very conventional developmental biologist, a very renowned biologist from Tufts University, United States of America. His ideas of memory are very different, which means they are not confined to what is called time and space. Now if you die as a body or as a consciousness, then supposedly, according to Michael Levin's ideas, your memories can survive your bodily death, and perhaps somewhere through some mechanism which is still not yet clear, those memories can be accessed by other consciousness, by the children who are young children who are again rudimentary consciousness. They can access those memories. Now where does those memories remain when the person has died? That's not clear. Nobody has the answer to that. But somehow this mechanism is not clear, but as a hypothesis, it's still a viable hypothesis which negates reincarnation, but which does not negates the veracity and the veridical approach or veracity of those experiences, which means those experiences that has been narrated by these people like Shanti Devi are true in nature, but that does not still affirm as, or cannot be affirmed as, a case for reincarnation. So these are the approaches, and I think the better stand would be to remain really, in the real sense of the term, agnostic, which means to be open, to be scientifically driven, rather than being prejudiced and biased, whether we are biased against it or we are biased in support of that, whether we are prejudiced against it or whether we are in support of that. We should be open and we should look for new mechanisms, new hypotheses, new philosophical approaches that transcends the conventional dichotomies and dualities or binaries of physicalism versus idealism. And if we remain open to different metaphysics and different scientific methodologies, I think we will be able to discern and decipher these mysteries in a much more rational, comprehensive and humane manner. Because remember, I am repeating this point from which I started, humanity or humans need some sort of magic to survive. Disenchanted world is not possible, and if disenchanted world is not possible, perhaps it's not possible because there is an evolutionary logic or evolutionary need to it, or perhaps there is a reality to disenchanted magical world. So we have to be open to discern these mysteries, and this is what true skepticism and true agnosticism is all about. Thank you.
This is really good. I just want to ask you one thing. What do you think about sleep paralysis in the psychological?
Yeah. So sleep paralysis is not difficult to answer, because sleep paralysis have, though it's still a mystery to some extent, but then there are biological concrete mechanisms available, especially in sleep medicine, to explain the reasons for it. So I don't really think that sleep paralysis is a great example of extrasensory or anything related to paranormal. I think better examples are studies on reincarnation, near-death experiences, extrasensory perceptions like precognition, premonitions or telepathy. These are better phenomena which can be considered as paranormal rather than, I would say, sleep paralysis.